I'm about to bust one of the most repeated myths in cancer care, and honestly, it scares people unnecessarily. Have you ever heard someone say that drinking cold drinks, sodas, or carbonated beverages directly causes cancer or makes existing tumors grow faster? Well, that's not accurate. Soda is not some magic cancer accelerant, but that doesn't mean cold drinks are harmless either. Let me explain what's actually going on because the real story is more nuanced and far more useful to you than a simple yes or no answer. Number one, let's talk about where this myth comes from, because like most health myths, it's rooted in something partially real. Sodas and sugary cold drinks are loaded with rapidly absorbed sugar, usually high fructose corn syrup or refined sugar. When you drink one, your blood sugar spikes fast, and your pancreas releases a large burst of insulin to manage it. People heard that cancer cells love sugar, connected that to soda being sugary, and concluded that drinking soda must be feeding cancer directly. That's an oversimplification, and it skips over what's actually happening inside your body. Here's the real mechanism. It's not the sugar molecule itself walking into a tumor and feeding it like fuel into a furnace. It's about what chronic, repeated sugar spikes do to your overall metabolic environment over months and years. When you regularly drink sugary cold drinks, your body is forced to release insulin over and over, multiple times a day, every single day. Over time, your cells can become less responsive to that insulin, a condition called insulin resistance. And when insulin resistance develops, your body compensates by producing even more insulin to get the same effect. Why does this matter for cancer? Because insulin doesn't just manage blood sugar, it's also a growth signal. Insulin and a related hormone called insulin like growth factor 1, or IGF-1, can stimulate cell division throughout the body. In a body with chronically elevated insulin levels, this creates an environment that may favor abnormal cell growth, including in some cases cancer cells that already exist. This is very different from saying soda feeds cancer. It's saying that chronic sugar spiking habits create a hormonal environment that isn't ideal for long term health, cancer, or otherwise. There's also a second mechanism that gets overlooked constantly: chronic inflammation. Regularly drinking sugary cold beverages has been linked in multiple large studies to higher levels of visceral fat, the dangerous fat that wraps around your internal organs. Visceral fat isn't passive storage. It's metabolically active tissue that releases inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream continuously. And chronic low grade inflammation is one of the genuine scientifically established drivers of cancer initiation and progression. So, the connection between soda and cancer risk isn't about the drink directly attacking your cells. It's an indirect pathway through weight gain, insulin resistance, and inflammation. By the way, if you're finding this kind of evidence based breakdown useful, go ahead and subscribe, because this channel exists specifically to cut through health misinformation using actual research, not fear. Now, let's talk about what the actual data shows, because this is where things get specific. The Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow Up Study, two of the largest long term cohort studies in the world, tracking over 100,000 participants combined for decades, found that individuals who consumed two or more sugary drinks per day had a measurably higher risk of obesity-related cancers, including colorectal, pancreatic, and endometrial cancer, compared to those who rarely drank them. Importantly, researchers concluded this association was driven primarily through weight gain and insulin resistance, not through any direct toxic effect of the carbonation or the sugar molecule itself. A separate study published in the BMJ, following over 100,000 French adults, found that higher consumption of sugary drinks, including both sodas and 100% fruit juice, was associated with an overall 18% higher risk of cancer. But here's the detail almost nobody reports. When researchers controlled for body weight and metabolic markers, the association weakened significantly, reinforcing that it's the downstream metabolic effects doing the damage, not the drink acting as a direct carcinogen. What about diet sodas and artificial sweeteners? This is where people get even more confused. Current research, including large reviews from the National Cancer Institute, has not found consistent evidence that approved artificial sweeteners directly cause cancer in humans at normal consumption levels. Some animal studies decades ago raised concern with extremely high doses, but human population studies have not replicated meaningful cancer risk at typical consumption. That said, diet soda isn't automatically a health food either. Some research suggests heavy diet soda consumption may still be associated with poor dietary patterns overall, which is a separate issue from direct carcinogenicity. So, what actually matters here? Three things. Number one, frequency and volume. An occasional cold drink at a barbecue is metabolically irrelevant. Daily, multiple servings is what builds the chronic insulin and inflammation pattern that matters. Number two, what it's replacing, sugary drinks that replace water, where most people get zero nutritional trade off, are different from someone who's otherwise eating a fiber rich, plant forward diet and having one soda a week. Number three, your overall metabolic health. Someone who is physically active, maintains a healthy weight, and eats a largely whole food diet can tolerate occasional sugary drinks far better than someone already dealing with obesity or insulin resistance. I want to give you a quick real world comparison because numbers without context don't mean much. A 12-ounce can of regular soda contains roughly 39 grams of sugar, about 10 teaspoons. Compare that to a cup of orange juice, which contains about 21 grams of natural sugar, but also delivers vitamin C, potassium, and some fiber if it's not heavily filtered. Neither is a daily necessity, but they are not metabolically identical, even though both raise blood sugar. So let's return to the original question. Does drinking cold drinks or soda directly feed cancer or accelerate tumor growth? The answer is no, not in the simple, direct way the myth suggests, but chronic, heavy consumption of sugary beverages contributes to obesity, insulin resistance, and inflammation. And those three factors are genuinely linked to increased cancer risk over time. It's not about demonizing a can of soda at a birthday party. It's about understanding that daily, high volume sugary drink habits change your body's internal environment in ways that matter over years, not because the drink is some direct cancer fuel. If you found this useful and want more myths broken down using actual clinical and population research instead of fear based claims, subscribe to this channel because that's exactly what we do here, taking confusing health claims and giving you the real science behind them. I'll see you in the next one.